Hello, welcome to another edition of Showtime on POD, Philippines on Demand. Now, today's segment will feature a rally recap and a Showtime shout out. So stay tuned, that's next. As you may recall, on the evening of October 27 of this year, 2020, a tropical depression developed over the western Pacific Ocean, located northwest of Guam. Once inside the Philippine area of responsibility known as PAR, it was given the local name Raleigh, as per the Philippines Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, known as PAGASA. According to PAGASA, Tropical Storm Goni was the 18th tropical storm for 2020 to enter PAR. It would also be the 5th tropical storm for October alone. Now, please keep in mind, the Philippines usually experience around 20 cyclones per year. And it is expected 2 or 3 more should appear in the month of November as well as December of this year. Typhoon Goni, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon Raleigh, was an extremely powerful tropical cyclone that recently made landfall as a Category 5, now equivalent super typhoons, on the Catanduanes Island in the Philippines, and became the strongest landfalling tropical cyclone on record. The 19th named storm, 9th typhoon, and the second super typhoon of 2020 Pacific typhoon season. Goni explosively intensified over the Philippine Sea, becoming a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon on October 30th. Now, Goni maintained Category 5 strength for over a day before making landfall on the Catanduanes Island as an extremely powerful typhoon with 10-minute sustained winds of 220 kilometers per hour, which equates to around 140 miles per hour, and 1-minute sustained winds of 315 kilometers per hour, which is equivalent to 195 miles per hour. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought I had read that it actually exceeded 195 miles per hour. It was the strongest tropical typhoon, cyclone, I should say, observed worldwide thus far in 2020, and one of the most intense tropical cyclones on record. Following its first landfall, Goni rapidly weakened while it moved across the Philippines. The storm brought severe flash flooding to Legazpi, as well as lahars from the nearby Mayan volcano. Now, there were widespread power outages as well as damaged power and transmission lines in the Bicol region. Crops were heavily damaged. Over 390,000 individuals have been displaced in the region out of 1 million evacuated. Now, the typhoon killed at least 24 people. And please keep in mind that when you have a significant event such as this, there's always going to be some confusion with the numbers. So at present day, at the time of this broadcast, it was reported, according to Pagasa, that 24 people lost their lives in this horrific storm. And you might also want to keep in mind, back in the Haiyan cyclone, I believe it was 2013, 6,300 people lost their lives, and they were actually finding bodies some 1 year later after that storm. So there's plenty of digging out to do, a lot of cleanup that will take place. So it's not unreasonable to think or believe that the number 24 could rise. And of course, our thoughts and prayers to anyone and everyone that sustained, a loss of a loved one, a friend, or even put you in hardship. So our prayers go out to all of you that were in the path of Raleigh. So please keep that in mind. It did cause at least 5.76 billion pesos in damage, which equates to 119 million US dollars worth of damage. Now, not only did they have the typhoon to contend with, they also have the COVID-19 pandemic, which also created a lot of issues and brought up a lot of concern for people in the evacuation centers. After it moved into the South China Sea, it eventually weakened into a tropical storm. It started to move primarily westward towards Vietnam. On the morning of October 31, now less than 24 hours before the typhoon made landfall, Pagasa raised a signal number 3, tropical cyclone warning signal for the Catanduanes, with the same signal being raised for the northeastern portions of both Albay and the Camarines Sur a few hours later. So Albay sustained a lot of damage. I believe a majority of the deaths occurred in or around Albay. Local governments across the Camarines Sur began forced evacuations, with the province's Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council expecting the evacuation of 20,000 families before noon on that day. By noon, the Camarines Norte government had evacuated 6,645 individuals from 75 villages out of a planned 159,000. Food packs worth 8.3 million, non-food items worth 26.42 million, and 3 million in standby funds were prepared in the Bocol region by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. A big thanks to them, as well as other organizations who pitched in and helped with this disaster. Together with the local disaster response agencies, all coming together, working together, and providing evacuation and logistics for people, for the evacuees. Evacuation centers in Aurora were also prepared, with some school buildings designated for use as shelters. Now, in Metro Manila, mayors of the constituent cities have began their own preparations for that typhoon, and they halted construction, ordering dismantling of tents and other outdoor structures that could blow about. So, a lot of lives, when you look at this thing and break it down and look at it, a lot of lives were saved. Yes, it's sad that we have lost, even losing one life, is a great sadness, especially if that person belongs to your family, So while people may say, the number 24 is not a large number, we kind of dodged a bullet. If you're talking in terms of numbers and the potential damage that it could have created, the number of lives that it could have taken, Yes, in that aspect, it was a blessing that we didn't lose more people, to the wrath of Raleigh. But however, if you're one of those people in those 24 families that sustained a loss of a loved one or a friend, it's a great loss, a great tragedy. And as I said, even one loss, is really hard for people to deal with, especially the related family members and friends. But it was because of the quick response and I remember from years ago, the infrastructure, the poor infrastructure, also leads into a lot of damage that occurs because a lot of these houses are makeshift houses. They're built with, wood, and they have the tin roofs, and it doesn't take much for them to blow away. So their infrastructure has improved over the years. But yet, in addition, the reaction, the agencies working together has also improved. And it was the quick warning, getting people evacuated, getting people in off the sea, letting people know what's happening out there, saved a lot of lives. So there, kudos to the Philippines government and all the agencies under the umbrella that had anything and everything to do with the forewarning system and getting people out of the area. So that was a big blessing, and we can only hope that look, here in the Philippines, it's tough. On average, what did I say? 20 cyclones per year. That's a lot. That's a lot to contend with, and not to mention it's a lot of money. To try to facilitate shelters and food and clothing, for evacuees. So it's a lot to shoulder. And, but the Philippines and her people are very resilient. It's a very resilient country. And I don't know of too many other countries that could land on their feet, dig out, and still walk away with that strong Filipino pride and that spirit, to keep fighting, to keep going, to keep striving forward. So it's only in the Philippines. Filipino people are used to this. They don't like it, obviously, but they're used to it. And they all come together in tragedy, and when we need each other, everybody pulls together in one direction toward one common goal. So it was really nice to see that happening. By evening on that said date, Pagasa raised the first signal, number 4, tropical cyclone warning of the year in the Catanduanes and the eastern portion of the Camarines Sur, and in the northern portion of Albay a few hours later. Now, by the end of the day, almost 1 million individuals were evacuated from Albay and 200,000 from the Camarines Sur. This exceeded the number of people evacuated ahead of Typhoon Haiyan back in 2013. And we were just talking about that, the differences in the response time, in the alarm time as well. So again, kudos to the Philippines government and all the agencies. The Manila International Airport Authority announced that the Ninoy Aquino International Airport would temporarily close for 24 hours. Now, I haven't followed up on that. And that was during the storm, obviously. So I would imagine at this point it's probably been reopened unless there's significant damage. But for you travelers, you already are on top of that. You already know. But I would say utilizing common sense at this point of the week, and with the Raleigh already out into the South China Sea. I think that the airport is running back at full speed again. A total of 480,174 individuals were preemptively evacuated in 8 regions before the storm even hit. So again, a great response time by the Philippines government and all of her agencies working together. Um, as I said, at least 24 people at this point of the broadcast lost their lives as a result of Typhoon Raleigh. It's probably realistic to think that that number, God forbid, will increase. Around 125 cities and towns were left without electricity after the storm's passing. In addition to that, around 16,900 hectares of cropland were damaged. But do keep in mind that there was also a lot of cropland that was saved as well due to the early response time. So yes, we sustained a lot of damage as well in terms of the cropland. Again, 16,900 hectares of cropland was damaged. And these numbers that I'm throwing out to you, again, bear in mind, like I said at the top of the broadcast, that, when you're still digging out and you still have government officials going around from, barangay to barangay, province to province, they're still calculating and trying to figure out exactly the extent of the damage. And so these numbers could change by the time I post this. More than likely, will change. I think that it's a common sense type of thing that we can all expect that these numbers will change in some way, shape, or form. So, with that 16,900 hectares of damaged cropland, it affected some 18,000 farmers. It is estimated that 66,000 metric tons of rice, corn, and other high-value crops were damaged. Power outages were widespread in the Bicol region as 10 electric cooperatives reported a loss of power caused by toppled electric posts and damaged transmission lines. Um, 2 evacuation centers lost their roofs from the force of the winds. In the Legpazi flash floods overwhelmed, local villages and roads were blocked by debris from the mountains and lahar flow from the Mayon volcano. The lahar submerged at least 180 houses, as well as vehicles and livestock in the locality of the Ginobatan, as well as Tabaco, Santo Domingo, and the Camalig areas. The nearby Basud Bridge, which connects the first and the second districts of the province, was also destroyed and rendered impassable due to lahar, while the famous Kegsawa ruins were heavily flooded. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, now they reported significant damage to the Naga airport and moderate damage to the Legazpi airport, along with the loss of contact with the Virac airport, the only airport serving the island of the Canaduenas. So in Albany, at least 14 people were killed alone out of the 24. Most of it was as a result of the high waters swept away some folks. One of which was a 5-year-old child that was reportedly washed away by the flood in Canaduenas. At least 6 were killed. 3 reported missing. So a lot of loss of life a lot of significant damage throughout the Philippines in that area. But I can only say that we can join together and support those, that lost family members and friends, and thank the good Lord that the Philippines government acted very swiftly, diligently, expediently, and saved a lot of lives. So again, while there's always the bad, we sometimes fail to look at the good, and I think that is one of the blessings, one of the good that came out of as a result. These government agencies working together, unifying, pulling together, and saving lives. And yeah, that's what it's all about. Sure, it's sad that a lot of people lost their homes, they're displaced, a lot of damaged cropland, a lot of damaged buildings, homes, what have you. But by the same token, those things can be replaced. So flights and train operations resumed the day after the typhoon's landfall. So there you go. It didn't take long for those operations to snap back into action. On October 30 now, Cabot officials declared that the province under a state of calamity from the effects of Typhoon Raleigh. In the Canaduanas, 90% of the infrastructure was damaged, as reported by the Philippine National Police. Again, we're thanking the agencies. We also want to thank, the Philippine military personnel, the Philippine National Police, all the frontliners, the hospital medical staff, from the person that checks you in to the doctor that overlooks you. Everybody pulled together and helping people. With 10,000 or about 65% of houses made of light materials were destroyed, in the Canaduanas area. Again, we talked about these houses being built from light materials. Doesn't take much, to displace those buildings. Communication to the island was limited, as about 80% of power posts and communication towers were severely damaged. But communication with the island was quickly reestablished on November 2nd. Damage to the abaca crop on the island caused by the typhoon is estimated to cost around 400 million pesos, with other crops totaling 200 million pesos. In the Boco region alone, over 96,000 families, or about 346,000 individuals, were in evacuation centers. I know that one of my friends, J3, Joe and Jenny Journey, he has a YouTube channel. I just mentioned it. He has a wife that lives in Mindoro, and she and her family were evacuated, ahead of the storm, but yet, caused a lot of damage in Raleigh's wake. But the true blessing therein lies that his wife is safe, and I hope that you are one of the families that you remain safe as well if you were in the path. Very, very difficult times. Now comes the period in time where people have to rally together and work together, pull together, dig out, clean up, and get rebuilt. And that's one of the things about the Philippines is, like I said earlier, Filipino people are resilient. They are resilient, and they are used to this. And you will overcome this because you will, and because you have in the past. In total, 68.6 million people have been affected. Now check this out. We talked about earlier, it was the projection was that 19 million people would be affected by the typhoon's path. And then it later said that 2 million people were affected. Well, here's an update. It is saying now that in total, 68.6 million people have been affected by Typhoon Goni, aka Raleigh, in some way, shape, or form, including 724,000 children in most affected areas. The NDDRMC had already recommended to not fill evacuation centers completely to comply with social distancing. That's the other thing that they were up against. Not only you have this storm uh, barreling down at you, with category 5 and winds of 195 miles per hour or more. But they had to deal with COVID-19 and, trying to, as they said, observe social distancing. So it made it much more difficult. And I did see that they had tents set up in the evacuation center where they can keep the families in each respective tent of their own. And I'm sure that helped as well. So that was another great idea by the brains at Power, working together to try to keep people separated. Now, the Department of Health recommended the usage of modular tents, and that's exactly what I was talking about, to immediate symptom screening in evacuation centers. While the Secretary of Health, Francisco Duque III, I apologize if I mispronounced the last name, asked local governments to deploy safety officers to prevent the spread of the disease. Nevertheless, though, many health facilities were damaged by the typhoon, and health workers struggled to get to evacuation centers due to the floods. In Manila, which had been battling numerous COVID-19 outbreaks. So you see the problem there. Wow, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. I couldn't even fathom, trying to be the one or to be the person or the persons to try to not only get people to safety, but get them not only to safety, but also to make sure that they're safe in those evacuation centers, and being mindful of COVID-19. So 2020 has been a tough year on a lot of people, but worldwide we will overcome as long as people continue to work together and not fight amongst one another and point fingers at people and places and organizations. We all got to come together, we got to stay together, we got to work together, pull together in one direction towards one common goal. So on November 2nd, the Cameroon Sur officials placed the province under a state of calamity there, with the Catanduanes doing the same on November 4. Now, you're probably wondering who are some of the countries that aided the Philippines. And I'm sure that there are others. So if I miss a few, it's because they weren't listed in the source in which I was utilizing to pass this information on to you. But I'm sure that there were a lot of countries that, I failed to mention here. Again, I'm going by the list that was provided, by, a news media source. The United Nations helped with Food and Agriculture Organization right there. The United Nations representing all civilized countries. chipped in, helped out with food and agriculture, um, helped assess the damage done to the crops in the affected area. The United Nations Children's Fund, known as UNICEF, pre-positioned wash items, child-friendly tent spaces, as well as education materials. The United States of America assisted in delivery of relief goods and emergency shelter supplies in Bacol. Australia provided emergency shelter kits through the Philippine Red Cross. United Arab Emirates donated DH 35 million, which comes out to 9.52 million US dollars as urgent humanitarian aid. The United Kingdom donated 1 million, equivalent to 1.30 million US dollars, to both the Philippines as well as Vietnam, to be distributed by the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies through local Red Cross partners. Singapore, the Singapore Red Cross contributed SG 50,000, which is equivalent to 36.7 thousand US dollars to the Philippine Red Cross. And in addition, the International Organization for Migration, otherwise known as IOM, deployed teams across the Bicol region, Region 4, to assess the needs of those displaced by the typhoon in response to COVID-19 pandemic. The IOM has also sent personal protective equipment, such as 200,000 face masks, some 20,000 bottles of sanitizer, 2,000 face shields, and 500 tents, which were very helpful and also were utilized for the children as well as social distancing. So there you have it. That's Typhoon Raleigh by the numbers. And please keep in mind, my friends, that these numbers, anytime you have a tragic event, where there's a lot of damage, death, numbers will always vary. And you can read one news source and read another, and there's one thing that they have in common, that they can't agree on the numbers, because like I say, and it's not any fault to any one news media or news source. It's just that the information is changing so rapidly, as the agencies are out there digging through the debris, sifting through and assessing the damage. It is then and only then will they have a better idea and an understanding of just how tragic Typhoon Raleigh was, and the accurate numbers in which Raleigh left in his wake. So, a big shout out and kudos to the Philippines government, the agencies, all of the countries around the world, in representation of the United Nations, everybody that contributed to the Philippines on their behalf, a big thank you. And speaking of shout outs, we got a Showtime shout out with some of the channels in which I'm very good friends with. If you want to check out some other YouTube channels other than my own, I encourage you to do so. So that's next, right here, the Showtime shout-outs. I would like to thank each of you for joining me for this Showtime shout-out segment. Big shout-out to Adrian Gibson, big follower of many, as is Check Out the Rileys. Bill Riley, thank you and Mercy for all of your support, as well as your friendship. Big thank you to my best friend in the entire world, friend of 18 years plus, Joe Tyne in Wisconsin. And of course, there's J3, Joe and Jenny Journey. Thank you very much, J3, for your continued support. Maureen, Michelle, and Ken Vlog, MMK, with over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, MMK, as well as my very dear friend, Kevin Kennedy. Tim Diziak, our 20-year vet. Thank you very much, Tim. Come on, guys and gals, let's get Tim to 500 bananas. Brett Glasso, well known around the YouTube community, supporting many people. Lisa D, she doesn't have any content, but she's got a lot of class and a lot of heart, supporting a lot of people. Glad to have you as a friend. Our Mindoro Journey down there in Mississippi. OMJ with 2K. Great job, OMJ. Blessed life, a wonderful singer in YouTube. She's going to go places, folks. Great, great talent. Lady Coach Explores. A wonderful person, always smiling, always happy, always supportive. As is How to Hawaiian. H2H, climbing the bananas ladder. Great guy, great friend. Thank you, H2H. The Philippines for Us, Fred and Marla, big shout out. Over 1K bananas. Thank you, Fred and Marla. Darla Lou, nearing 2K subscribers. Thank you, Darla Lou, for your friendship and support. As well as Joe and Jassy down in Georgia, nearing 3K. Congratulations to Joe and Jassy, great people. Very good friend, Willie. Willie lives here in the subdivision, but currently living in New York. And let's also give a big shout out to the big dog in the Philippines, a very good friend of mine here in Elenita Heights. And of course, one of the most beloved people in YouTube, the Hopsters, with over 4K bananas. Congratulations to the Hopsters. Another great guy here, Jay's Journey. Thank you, Jay, for your friendship and your support. Pinoy Ahoy needs no introduction. Everybody knows this guy. Wonderful person, over 4K bananas. Sean Williams, another great guy in YouTube, very supportive of many people, a good friend to all, with 7K bananas. Shooting Star MS, 526 subscribers and building. Thank you, Shooting Star, for your friendship and your support. Scott Expat in the Philippines, always in the streams, always supporting, a great guy. Song for Anna, another wonderful talent, great singing voice. She's going to go places as well. Mark my words. One of the more funny channels in YouTube, Grinch 1984. Thank you, Grinch. Philippines, My Paradise. Ned, thank you all over there very much for your support and your friendship. Northwest Adventures, just met NWA. I checked over his channel. Great guy, good content, fun to watch. Great live streamer. Out until further notice. Out until further notice. Thank you very much, my friend. Let's keep building on his bananas, you guys. And Philippine-American couple, I was just a guest on their show. Thank you, Pac, for having me as a guest on your show recently. Naki Dave, another great supporter. Thank you, Naki Dave, for commenting on my videos, as well as Vin Edgar. Thank you too, Vin. I want to thank each and every one of you. And for those of you who I did not mention, no, I did not forget you. It's just that you can only cram so many people into a little block of time at a time. So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. I hope that if you want to be a guest on Showtime, please hit me up. Leave a message down in the comment section. Find me on Facebook, drop me a message and say, hey, Bill, love to be a guest on your Showtime program, and this is what we can talk about. So don't just come at me, with a guest request. If there is something you would like to talk about, it's all you. It is all you. So just hit me up, let me know, and we'll schedule an interview. All right? Until next time, I'll catch you later.